Greetings. My name is Katerina Nesterenko. Today we'll talk about the situation at the front. Russian forces have occupied a settlement in the Sumy region, while Ukrainian soldiers are heroically catching drones with their bare hands. We'll also show how unidentified drones attacked Moscow, causing all the capital's airports to cease operations. Azerbaijan is preparing to sue Russia over the downplane, and the US wants to buy Ukrainian drones. We'll talk about this and much more right now. Let's get started. Let's begin with the situation at the front. Unfortunately, Russian forces have occupied Yablunivka in the Sumy region. This information comes from the deep state resource. In addition to Yablunivka, the enemy has advanced in the north of Sumy region in the areas of Yunakivka, Kondrativka, Andreevka, Borakine, and Domashne. It is also known that Russia has transferred fresh reservists to this direction. In Donetsk region, the directions of Pokrovsk, Romanivka, and Toretsk are under threat. This is how our military describes the situation.
The first enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups in Pokrovsk are already a worrying sign. In my experience, it could take up to 2 months from the appearance of the first sabotage groups to full-scale defensive actions in the city.
In addition, for several days in a row, the media space has been abuzz with news that Trump allegedly called on Zelensky to launch a counteroffensive. However, most likely, this is an information dump. This opinion was expressed by Ivan Timochko, chairman of the Council of Reservists of the Ukrainian Ground Forces. We understand that during counteroffensives, with a shortage of weapons, this leads to additional losses. I think this information dump is precisely for that purpose, to find yet another way to reduce our mobilization, as if everyone will be sent on meat-grinder assaults tomorrow just because Trump wants it. This is a very calculated Russian narrative, and it easily takes root here. He added that if Ukraine were actually preparing for a counteroffensive, it would do so under a veil of secrecy.
We've already seen this with the advance into the Kursk region and the strike against enemy forces in the Kharkiv region. And we remember the Kherson counteroffensive by the armed forces. Of course, a counteroffensive will take place, but it will happen when we have the necessary forces and resources.
But regardless, we know that our defenders are incredibly brave. Here is yet another proof of that. A Ukrainian soldier fended off an enemy drone just. Think about it with one hand. There's even a video of it. The person who did it is a ranger from the 4th Special Operations Forces Regiment. According to reports, he wasn't able to shoot down the kamikaze drone with a pump-action shotgun. So the Special Forces soldier timed it right and pushed the FPV drone away with his hand so it couldn't detonate. Our soldiers are truly courageous heroes. Thank them in the comments. They're watching us. A legendary victory. I probably don't know a single person who hasn't seen how, on the 19th of July, the Ukrainian Usyk triumphed over the Briton Daniel Dubois with a knockout in the 5th round and became the undisputed world heavyweight champion for the 3rd time. Ukrainians even joked that Usyk put Dubois to sleep so quickly that viewers didn't even have time to finish their beers. Even if someone was already asleep, other Ukrainians made sure that everyone found out about our boxer's victory. Here's how it was celebrated in Kyiv and Odessa. Notably, the media had reported beforehand that if Dubois won, he would dedicate his victory to Russia. But fortunately, it was the Ukrainian who won. After the fight, Usyk thanked the Ukrainian soldiers. And in turn, we thank our boxer for giving us the chance, in such difficult times, to experience these incredible emotions of victory, which undoubtedly inspire and give strength to the entire nation. And don't push the horses! Meanwhile, on the night of the 20th of July, Moscow was on fire, and not just Moscow.
Cars are burning.
Friendly drones paid a visit to Moscow and the Moscow region. As a result of debris from a downed drone falling in Zelenograd near Moscow, cars caught fire. In all Moscow airports, Sheremetyevo, Domodedovo, Vnukovo, and Zhukovsky departures and arrivals of planes were halted. Look at how well it's burning.
And what exactly is this?
But Russian citizens were also troubled by Ukrainian partisans. Near Tula, they damaged the railway tracks and disrupted the logistics of weapon deliveries. It is known that this route is actively used to transfer equipment to the Sumy and Kharkiv directions. You occupiers will have no peace, day or night, until you leave our land, until you are held accountable for everything you have done, for all the suffering. Russian commanders execute their subordinates without trial or investigation, and then declare them missing in action. Such executions were recently recorded in the Kursk region. There are witnesses and evidence. We will tell you about them.
In December of last year, 4 servicemen of the 37th Brigade were executed in the Kursk region. These are Russian army soldiers with the call signs Beast, Shadow, Shelby, and Casper. And they were shot not by Ukrainian armed forces soldiers, but by their own comrades in arms. The reason for the execution, they failed to carry out an order.
A day before that, the commander of the 34th Brigade Battalion, Maxim Chernov, call sign Novosibirsk, gave an order to the AGS group to fire at a designated target from a specific position. The group set out on the mission. The spot at the position turned out to be swampy. They were unable to properly set up the weapon. The group came under enemy artillery fire. The soldiers were wounded, but they couldn't carry out the order, which they reported to their superior with the call sign Zima. He reported this to Chernov, who replied, let them return, and upon return, eliminate them. The guys were evacuated the next day, brought to headquarters for a conversation, and that same day, they were executed by firing squad. The bodies were thrown into a well, covered with branches and a camouflage net. The relatives were told that they were missing in action.
Until the 15th of March, the deceased were listed as missing. That was until relatives, friends, and witnesses to the execution found that very well. Currently, 3 Russian army soldiers who executed their fellow servicemen have been detained and are being held in a pre-trial detention center.
In fact, that's where the story could end, since no one is holding those responsible for the execution accountable. Battalion Commander Chernov is feeling just fine on vacation, couldn't care less about anyone. His uncle is a general, so he can get away with anything. The investigation is barely being conducted. There are plenty of witnesses, but no one is listening to them. Investigators are constantly being replaced, and the relatives are treated with utter disrespect.
In the Russian army, the murder of their own soldiers is called resetting, but in plain terms, it's an execution. And a commander can give such an order for any infraction at the front line. For the so-called Second Army of the world, this is standard practice.
Basically, my own people want to reset me.
The commander ordered to reset my brother.
They just reset our guys, our soldiers.
Reset as a witness.
They took him away and just blatantly reset him.
They just said they would reset him.
And these are the last words of Dagestani Saeed Murtazaliev. The 18-year-old serviceman recorded an address. He said that the commanders of the unit with the call signs Altai and Kila ordered him to collect money from subordinates and then decided to get rid of him as a witness.
By order of the regiment commander, I collected 1,150,000. By order of the regiment commander, so that the guys wouldn't go on the assault. That's it. After that, they sent me to the assault myself, where Comrade Spartak, that's his call sign, said that an order had come to eliminate me.
Zed came to Moscow for the winter holidays, where he was arrested on fraud charges. At the station, Murtazaliev was offered to sign a contract with the Ministry of Defense, and when he refused, they began to torture him. When the young man arrived at the unit, he was forced to collect money, and the day after the commander's video address was recorded, the serviceman was declared missing. The video was published by his mother, who is still searching for her son.
272nd Regiment, Commander Altai, Commander Kila.
According to various estimates, between 50 and 100,000 Russians may have gone missing in the war in Ukraine. But the Kremlin remains silent about why there are so many missing, how many of them have been written off, and the authorities are also carefully trying to conceal this number.
Azerbaijan is preparing a lawsuit against Russia in connection with the crash of an Azerbaijan Airlines plane near Aktau.
The Prosecutor General of Azerbaijan, Aliyev noted, is sending inquiries to the head of the Russian Investigative Committee, but the only response he receives is, the investigation is ongoing. The president of Azerbaijan called this position counterproductive and confirmed the intention of official Baku to appeal to international justice.
Let me briefly remind you of the essence. On the 25th of December 2024, near Aktau in Kazakhstan, an Azerbaijani passenger plane crashed. As a result of the crash, 38 people died. Some media outlets, citing sources in the Azerbaijani government, reported that the cause of the plane crash was a Russian surface-to-air missile launched from a Russian Pantsir-S air defense system. In this context, it is also very interesting how events are unfolding in Russia. Russian propaganda is trying to create a fake story about Azerbaijanis. Supposedly, Baku helped Ukraine carry out Operation Web.
Our intelligence has learned that Azerbaijani special services, by involving their diasporas in Russia, assisted Ukrainian special services in conducting the sabotage and terrorist Operation Web, which aimed to strike at the strategic aviation of the Russian aerospace forces.
This is a typical Russian tactic to spread a fake story in order to later legitimize their own crimes. Dubai is becoming a branch of Moscow. Russian officials and oligarchs are flocking there in droves. And while the residents of Russian cities and villages are barely making ends meet, Putin's fat cats and their families, the Kadyrovs, the Usmanovs, and others like them, are living it up in the Emirates. It's useful for ordinary Russians to see this. Russians are occupying Dubai, though not in their usual way without AKs and tanks.
Some Buratino sour cream, please. Did you ever think you could drink Buratino lemonade in Dubai? I didn't. But now you're going to be surprised. This really amazed me. Look, come over here. Buckwheat. Now that's a combo. Everyone has it, just an endless supply for ages. Alyonka, chocolate bar. Honestly, you could just come here, eat some of our Martin sunflower seeds, cook yourself some rice. 3 crusts. 3 crusts, guys.
The clever and enterprising quickly realized that enduring the heat on the shores of the Arabian Gulf is much more comfortable than suffering through the heat in the nameless shelter belts of Ukraine. Especially under fire, it's not even worth recalling the bitter cold and hunger in the trenches. After 2022, citizens of Arefia literally flooded into the Emirates. In 2024, Russians are among the top 5 in terms of the number of real estate investors. In one city, both
so-called liberals like Ksenia Sobchak and pro-Putin figures like Valeria and Iosif Prigozhin coexist perfectly.
Sobchak, who bought an apartment in St. Regis residence. So that's here, right?
She bought, by the way, there's a lot to say about Sobchak. She bought from Emar, the developer of St. Regis, but it's not in this location, it's in downtown next to the Burj Khalifa in Dubai Mall. It's a building under construction. She lives here in downtown, which is also a luxurious location.
What's the pricing policy there?
As I understand it, she invested in it as an investment project, and the price per square meter that year started from $7,000 to $8,000 per square meter. So for a 1-bedroom apartment, that's $700,000 to $800,000. That's a very good price.
By the way, about the parks, I know that the Zabil district is considered a green area, and I think Valeria bought an apartment there and lives there from time to time. Is that true?
By the way, I saw them there. That's right. My client had an apartment there, we were renting it out, and I got into the elevator. And that's when I met Valeria and Prigozhin.
How much does it cost to live in the Zabel district to run into Valeria? Just like you did.
Actually, before we talk about the center, I should probably tell you about the building itself. One Zabil is a landmark building that made it into the Guinness Book of Records. It consists of residences and a hotel section. 2 towers connected by the longest cantilever in the world. Maybe you saw it when you were driving by 2 towers with a long cantilever between them. That's actually the One Zabil building.
Yes, I saw it.
It's such a unique structure. Right next to the frame, yes, exactly. There's a luxury hotel there.
Not to mention the entourage of the Russian dictator and the sponsors of Russian military aggression. If in the more familiar Western countries they can no longer live so easily, then in the United Arab Emirates they feel right at home. For example, one of the richest businessmen not just in Russia but in the world, Alisher Usmanov, paid for his closeness to Putin with personal sanctions. Despite the problems that have arisen with his property abroad, such as his favorite yacht Dilbar worth 550 million euros and a villa in the Alps, the businessman feels perfectly fine in Dubai. His villa is located on the grounds of one of the most luxurious hotels, the Bulgari Resort.
We are in a unique place because only hotels are located here. Only a few people live around us, so there is a lot of privacy on this very beautiful island, which is located next to the Burj Khalifa in the city center. Bulgaria tries to incorporate its brand and image everywhere in a very elegant way. For example, look at these mosaics. In the pool, one of them is from 1960. So you can see the brand's logo even while you're in the water.
According to the VCK OGPU public channel, Usmanov's neighbor in Dubai is his partner, Deputy Andres Koch, whose azure-colored yacht is moored at the hotel's marina. And that's not the entire Russian elite. For example, Rostec executives have taken a liking to real estate worth tens of millions of dollars on Palm Jumeirah and in the Zabil area.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Here is the elite community called 24 Karat, a gated complex of 24 villas ranging from 700 to 1,500 square meters, each costing between $15 and $20 million. This project was built by a Samara businessman with a criminal past. Among the villa owners are key figures connected to Rostec and the arms industry: Sergei Chemeris, Denis Manturov, Iskander Mahmudov, and Andrei Bokharev. Next to 24 Karat is the famous Zabil Sarai Hotel, nicknamed the second presidential hotel on Yakimanka. In this luxurious complex, the head of Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov, owns 2 villas, each 1,000 square meters, with direct access to the beach.
Judging by the immense scale of the vast wealth of these prominent oligarchs who have come under significant international sanctions, and observing the clear and consistent dynamics of their rapidly growing fortunes, because we regularly and diligently monitor the Bloomberg Billionaires Index and various other reputable financial rankings, we unequivocally see that Russian oligarchs are indeed doing just exceptionally fine during the ongoing and protracted war. If we noticed a slight drop in their incomes in 2022 due to asset freezes and logistical difficulties, then in 2023-24 they managed to adapt, and it's clear that they have restructured their income generating systems in such a way that they continue to do business outside the Russian Federation and enjoy expensive assets that European or American law enforcement agencies have no access to. And at the same time, on the other hand, they receive preferences and support from the Russian authorities by participating in the nationalization of assets.
Stunning views from the window, luxurious apartments, a warm climate, and a sea of familiar business from Russia. For both wealthy and less affluent Russian citizens, Dubai has become a city straight out of a utopian novel, something they could only dream of back home.
The vibe here is absolutely amazing for me. And the people I've met here, well, the networking here is just incredible. I never had anything like this in Moscow.
Do you know why that is here? Because almost everyone is a newcomer too.
It's a city of expats.
Everyone just starts talking right away.
Yes, it really does level things out. Just so you understand, I had a situation where I was introduced to Polonsky, the billionaire. And he said, oh, I know you. I heard that's music they played for me the day before we met. Oh, and he sits me at the table with his friends. I mean, in Moscow, I wouldn't even end up in the same room as this person, let alone...
There are so many barriers, you know, and...
It's not like this person would say to me, oh, great, come, sit at our table. So for me, it was a kind of amazing adventure.
There's a really good mentality here. Everyone is very kind, very responsive. It's not like people just smile at you and then talk behind your back. It's just the mentality here. I mean, we've become the same way ourselves. I drive. And if someone cuts me off, I've never honked, I don't swear, I don't do anything. Well, because, you know, it just happened that way.
Yeah, that's how it is.
We've become kind and calm ourselves. We've already gotten used to all of this. But people who think differently, so to speak, don't really come here. Those who come here to earn money generally have a different mindset. So you won't find people here who complain about newcomers, like what are they doing here?
You mean the Arabs here, right?
The newcomers. In general, newcomers. Arabs are very respectful towards absolutely all nationalities and all religions. You can feel it, but not all newcomers are people of a certain level or with a certain mindset. And there will never be any internal conflicts in terms of national characteristics or hypocrisy.
At the same time, back home there is poverty, explosions, and interethnic clashes. Not all Russians are lucky enough to move to Dubai. For someone to get a cozy spot, someone else has to burn alive in the Ukrainian shelter belts.
Russia is planning to launch up to 2,000 drones at Ukraine simultaneously. This was reported by Bundeswehr Major General Christian Freuding.
Freuding noted that traditional methods of countering drones, particularly the use of expensive Patriot missiles, are not very effective against Shahed attacks. One such drone costs between 30 and 50,000 euros, whereas a Patriot missile costs over 5 million.
He also emphasized that it is necessary to look for more cost-effective countermeasures in the range of 2,000 to 4,000 euros per unit. It is precisely such solutions that would allow for an effective response to mass attacks from the Russian Federation. In addition, Russia is mass-producing Jiran-2 Shaheds at a plant in Alabuga. As evidence, the occupiers showed a report from the site where the strike drones are manufactured. And this is how the Russians launched Shaheds to attack Ukraine.
And they have built an entire drone port, which, without any hesitation, the general director also calls the largest in the world. The drones themselves wait for launch in garages and hangars. The runways are separated by protected random embankments.
As can be seen from the published video, the strike drones are launched from American Dodge pickup trucks. Ukraine will receive new Patriot systems, but this will happen according to a new scheme devised in the United States. Accordingly, America will first provide weapons to those allies who send Patriot systems to Ukraine from their own stockpiles. This is reported by the Wall Street Journal.
An unnamed American official recently stated that as other allied countries agree to send their Patriot missile defense systems from their existing arsenals to Ukraine, the current Trump administration is giving significant priority to these crucial allies.
According to the publication, the White House has moved Germany to the top of the queue for receiving Patriot systems, clearing the way for Berlin to send 2 of its existing systems to Ukraine. And as early as next week, both the US and its allies are likely to reach a major agreement on providing additional weaponry. An anonymous NATO representative specified that Germany, Norway, Denmark, the Netherlands, Sweden, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Finland have already taken on this responsibility. At the same time, other European countries may join in assisting Kyiv once the details of the plan are agreed upon. I hope our allies won't delay the transfer. After all, Russia attacks our cities every day, and these air defense systems are a chance to save Ukrainian lives and reduce the risk of destruction in Ukraine. The US wants to purchase Ukrainian drones. Trump and Kellogg are thrilled about the capabilities of our combat birds and openly admit they want them in the arsenal of the US military. But what will Ukraine get in return? All the details are already in the report.
Ukraine is leading in the new era of warfare. While the world debates arms supplies, Ukrainians are already writing a new military doctrine. It's the 4th day of Donald Trump's special representative, Keith Kellogg, in Ukraine. And what he saw made the diplomat acknowledge Ukraine's leadership in weapons innovation.
I visited part of a Ukrainian military base. I saw with my own eyes how Ukrainian drones are produced and developed. Incredible innovations, especially in the field of drones. In this new era and type of warfare, they are leading. Their speed, innovation, and ability to adapt are impressive. Our defense industrial base needs to take this into account and adapt.
Ukrainian engineers continue to create systems that turn tank columns into scrap metal and military factories into piles of ash. Drones are the future of warfare that has already arrived. Fast, cheap, deadly. And in this race, Ukraine is pulling ahead.
The technologies that are now actively used on the battlefield can be effectively implemented and should be effectively offered, for example, to NATO countries or the European Union. Countries are very interested in some of our developments, which will allow them, for example, to understand the conditions and the combat operations that are currently taking place in eastern Ukraine. It's important to understand that, in fact, the Americans, for example, did not anticipate the possibility of mounting laser target designators on drones smaller than the Bayraktar. We're talking about the fact that we have drones that are, say, 3 times smaller than a Bayraktar in size, but at the same time can carry laser target designators that help, for example, artillery systems and multiple launch rocket systems to aim precisely, pinpointing the exact target needed. Additionally, no one expected that, for example, an artillery shell or any other type of munition could be attached to a drone and used as a precision weapon. Because basically, if we're talking about FPV drones, then with an experienced pilot, that is, it's a high-precision weapon.
That's why Washington is shifting its focus. America, a military giant, a country with $1 trillion defense budget, is now looking to Ukraine as an example. What seemed impossible just yesterday is now a fact. The US wants to buy Ukrainian drones.
There are many drones that only we have. And we are discussing this with President Trump. I told him that I really want to buy things from you that only you have. He told me that America wants to buy Ukrainian drones. I really want America to help us protect our skies. This is very important.
Since the beginning of the war, Ukraine hasn't just been actively using drones. The country has built an entire industry from scratch. Today, more than 200 companies are operating in Ukraine, from startups to large manufacturers that, together with the government, are creating drones of all kinds, from small FPVs to heavy reconnaissance and strike drones with flight ranges of thousands of kilometers. It is these drones that regularly strike Russian military targets deep behind enemy lines, energy facilities, depots and headquarters, often operating in the most challenging conditions. The most high-profile operation was Web, carried out on the 1st of June. Hundreds of FPV drones delivered undercover struck 4 key Russian airfields, destroying up to 41 aircraft, including strategic bombers. According to experts, this is about a third of all Russian strategic aviation. The damage amounts to billions of dollars. This operation became a true revolution. For the first time, Ukrainian drones achieved such scale and depth of impact. And in March, a swarm of Ukrainian drones descended on Moscow, leading to the temporary shutdown of airports and large-scale fires. According to Western intelligence estimates, this was the largest strike on the Russian capital since the start of the full-scale invasion. In addition, Ukraine has created a unique fleet of maritime drones, from the Sea Baby to the Magura 5 and V7. These are entire mobile platforms capable of conducting reconnaissance, transporting and launching other drones, striking ships, and even military aircraft. In May, one of these birds shot down 2 Russian Su-30s over the Black Sea near Novorossiysk. Moreover, maritime drones have destroyed a third of the much-vaunted Russian Black Sea fleet. And most importantly, every day Ukrainian drones disrupt the enemy's plans on the front line. In particular, FPV drone operators from the 1st Presidential Brigade, named after Hetman Petro Doroshenko-Burevi, stopped an attempt by Russian troops to break through in the Kupiansk direction. One precise strike and yet another tank bomb turned into a blazing torch, followed by a detonation. These stories are extremely important because the Ukrainian drone industry is not just about manufacturing equipment, it's an entire philosophy of modern warfare. The drone war has now become one of the key factors shifting the balance of power in the region and forcing the whole world to reconsider how modern conflicts are fought.
Please kindly consider liking this video, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to our wonderful and informative channel. We truly appreciate your support, and we will definitely meet again very soon in our next exciting video. All the best.